Dark ties. The CIA and the shadowy world of drug trafficking. In every shadow, there is truth. In every truth, there is power. For decades, the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, has been at the center of countless allegations, accusations, and conspiracy theories. While its official mission is to protect and serve the interests of the United States, whispers suggest that its operations are occasionally cloaked in darkness, with secret dealings that blur the line between patriotism and corruption. In this documentary, we investigate one of the most explosive claims in modern history: the CIA's alleged connection to global drug trafficking. From the jungles of Southeast Asia to the streets of America's inner cities, we follow the trails of evidence, examine declassified files, spotlight key testimonies, and weigh these accusations against government denials. Was it neglect? A means to an end? Or worse, a calculated strategy to fund covert operations? We begin in the post-World War II era, where the seeds of secrecy were sown and the need for invisible wars birthed dangerous partnerships. The CIA came into existence in 1947 with a mandate to provide intelligence and conduct covert operations essential to protecting the United States. While it started as an operation grounded in intelligence gathering, the Cold War soon pushed its remit far beyond observation. The battle for geopolitical supremacy demanded unconventional strategies. In the face of the Soviet Union's global influence, the CIA became an instrument of subterfuge, working with unsavory allies, propping up rebel groups, and undermining regimes deemed communist threats. To escape scrutiny and congressional oversight, funding often came from unconventional and, as some claim, highly illegal sources. This is where the drug trade allegedly became the agency's secret weapon. Were drugs mere collateral damage in America's ideological war, or something more sinister? Seeking the truth requires starting where the trail begins: Southeast Asia. The Vietnam War was not just a battleground for soldiers. It was also ground zero for one of the world's largest opium-producing regions, the Golden Triangle, overlapping Burma, now Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand. During the conflict, the U.S. allied with various ethnic militias in the region. Chief among them were the Hmong people, who provided crucial military support against communist forces. But the Hmong also relied heavily on opium cultivation to sustain their communities and fund their fight. Reports emerged suggesting that the CIA not only knew about this drug trade, but also facilitated it. Allegations include claims that the CIA used Air America, its covert airline, to transport opium under the guise of delivering weapons and supplies. Former operatives have testified to seeing suspicious cargo and even claimed the agency turned a blind eye to protect its allies. Officially, the CIA denies these allegations, arguing that any drug trafficking was outside its control or knowledge. Yet the lines of accountability blur. Can an organization empowered to disrupt nations truly claim ignorance when it comes to the actions of its partners? The question deepens as we leave Southeast Asia and follow the CIA's shadow to Latin America. The 1980s brought another ideological battleground: Nicaragua. The Sandinista government, a socialist regime, came to power after overthrowing the Somoza dictatorship. This alarmed the United States, and the CIA quickly moved to support the opposition, the Contras. The Contras needed funding to sustain their guerrilla war against the Sandinistas. But here's the catch: Congress passed the Boland Amendment, which restricted U.S. funding for the Contras. Enter the drug connection. Investigative reports, including damning testimonies, allege that the CIA facilitated or turned a blind eye to the Contras' cocaine trafficking efforts to fund their war effort. Cocaine from Central America made its way into the United States, and as some argue, helped fuel the crack cocaine epidemic that devastated urban America in the 1980s. Dark Alliance, a groundbreaking series written by journalist Gary Webb, linked the Contras cocaine pipeline directly to communities like South Central Los Angeles. Webb's reporting alleged that profits from crack sales in U.S. cities funneled back to fund CIA-backed Contras. This claim was incendiary, to say the least. The CIA and major media outlets swiftly discredited Webb's work, arguing that the evidence was circumstantial and flawed. Yet, as more documents emerge, including declassified reports, the question lingers. How much of Webb's controversial series was the truth, and how much was intentionally buried? Gary Webb's 1996 Dark Alliance series sent shockwaves across the nation. In his articles, Webb detailed how a Contra-connected drug trafficking ring funneled cocaine into the United States, claiming it bore the tacit approval, or at least the willful neglect, of the CIA. The response was explosive. Communities ravaged by crack addiction demanded answers. Activists accused the CIA of deliberately targeting Black Americans, but while the public raged, powerful institutions lashed back. Major media outlets criticized Webb's journalism, accusing him of sensationalism and weak evidence. The CIA, for its part, denied any involvement, while documents released later showed that the agency monitored the fallout closely and might have influenced public perception through the media. The scrutiny did more than discredit Webb professionally. It destroyed him personally. Isolated and ostracized, Webb faced an uphill battle to restore his reputation. Tragically, in 2004, he was found dead in what was officially ruled a suicide, though his death has fueled further conspiracy theories. Webb's story is not just a testament to investigative courage, but also a cautionary tale about the consequences of challenging powerful institutions. The CIA's alleged connection to the drug trade stretches beyond Latin America and Southeast Asia to Afghanistan. During the 1980s, the CIA supported Afghan Mujahideen fighters against Soviet occupation. Like the Contras and Hmong militias, these fighters operated in regions where opium cultivation thrived. It's claimed that during the anti-Soviet campaign, the CIA allowed opium production to flourish as long as it didn't interfere with their mission. Critics argue that this turned Afghanistan into a global hub for heroin production, with consequences that persist to this day. Again, the CIA denies direct complicity, dismissing accusations as speculation. But as history shows, where global politics mix with illicit economies, ignored consequences often escalate into tragedies. In recent decades, declassified documents have shown more light on the CIA's shadowy past. These documents reveal that the agency regularly collaborated with individuals, groups, and regimes entangled in the drug trade. However, proving deliberate facilitation versus circumstantial association remains challenging. Testimonies from former operatives and investigative journalistic efforts like Webb's provide compelling narratives, but they are not without their critics. Skeptics argue that conspiracy theories fill gaps where evidence is thin. Still, it cannot be ignored that covert operations often demand funding outside of normal channels. Whether through willful ignorance or deliberate collusion, the lines between lawful strategy and unlawful compromise seem disturbingly porous. If the CIA indeed ignored or enabled drug smuggling, the consequences were not just geopolitical, they were devastatingly domestic. The 1980s crack cocaine epidemic disproportionately affected Black and Latino communities, exacerbating systemic inequalities and fueling mass incarceration under harsh anti-drug laws. Communities targeted by addiction and law enforcement alike feel the ripple effects to this day. The allegations against the CIA contributed to a larger erosion of trust between citizens and their government. How can a nation confront its institutions when suspicion outweighs accountability? Public response to these revelations highlighted a deepening divide between power and the people it is meant to serve. The allegations of CIA drug connections have reverberated through pop culture, inspiring movies, books, and televised dramas. Films like Kill the Messenger, based on Gary Webb's life, and series like Narcos have drawn from these dark tales, while conspiracy theorists find no shortage of fuel online. But the struggle between journalism and entrenched power looms large. Webb's case showcases the razor-thin edge on which investigative reporters operate when targeting institutions that demand secrecy. For those who question authority, his legacy offers inspiration, and a somber caution. Decades later, evidence of the CIA's involvement in drug trafficking remains shrouded in partial truths and unanswered questions. Some see an organization guilty of exploiting the vulnerabilities of broken systems. Others see a misunderstood agency forced to make hard compromises in the name of national security. Was it merely a case of unintended consequences or something darker? The truth may never come fully into focus. But one thing is clear: this story, real or exaggerated, forces us to confront the complexities of power, secrecy, and justice in the modern age. To truly trust our institutions, we must hold them accountable, not just for what they accomplish, but how they accomplish it. As we close, it isn't our role to tell you what to believe. Rather, we urge you to question, investigate, and seek truth in the shadows, because sometimes what lies unseen matters most.